When it comes to working in Autodesk Revit, there are usually two or more approaches to do the same thing. In this video, I will be showing you my favorite two approaches to model wooden cladding inside of Revit. Let's go. Now quickly, before we jump into Revit, I would just like to ask you to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. I'm going to link it up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. If you're serious about mastering Revit, that's definitely the best place to be, with over 140 hours dedicated to all of the interesting and complex topics inside of Revit. Now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And here we are in Revit, and as you can see, we have just a few walls, and I've already applied cladding, and now I'm just going to be showing you the two approaches and how do they work. So here we have the approach that's using wall sweeps that are integrated with the wall, and here we have an approach where we're just using a generic family that is using an array in order to generate the wall cladding. So now let me show you the integrated approach where we're using the wall sweeps. Now why this approach is really good is first of all, you can make openings really easily. So if you want to add another door, another window, you simply go here to window and then you place a window and it's going to poke an opening. And also you can see that the cladding goes behind the outside of the frame, which is really good. So that's what makes this good. Also what makes it good is the fact that you just place a single wall and that is going to be included. So if I just right click, go to create similar, you can use the CS shortcut. If you place another wall here, what you'll notice is that here, on the other side, we have that same wooden cladding. So that's what makes this approach really good. So when I select this wall and go into edit type, here under structure, we need to go to edit, and then there's this little preview option. You need to turn that on, and you also need to change the view. So here you can see that the vertical editing options are grayed out, but if we change this to section from floor plan, now these are no longer grayed out. And what we're looking for are sweeps. So when I click on sweeps, you can see that we have the sweep window, and you can notice that we actually have 33 sweeps in this model. So what's going on here? Well, the sweeps are basically the wooden cladding. So here we have one profile on the bottom, and if I open up sweeps, that's going to be the profile 33. How do I know that? Well, because we're measuring from the base, and the distance from the base is defined here. So this one is starting just a tad off the bottom of the base, and the profile that we're using is this wall sweep 8-inch. So you can create as many profiles as you like, you can create them however you like. So you can see this is a very simple profile, but you can make more complex ones. You can even simplify it and just make it a rectangle, whatever you prefer and whatever you need for your final project documentation. Then we have the material, which in this case it's just set by category. Then we have the distance, as I mentioned, so this is just defining how far off the base or off the bottom of the wall we are. So here the number 4 is at about 516 millimeters. We also have some orientation, side, offset, all of these things. Those are just going to keep it in the correct place. And really important is the cuttable option or checkbox, and you want to have this checked on, so when you place another window or another door, it's going to actually make that opening. Okay, so now we can change the material if we want. So for example, if you want to change the material here, I can just place it to white cladding, and then I can just copy this up to a few of these, and then as you can see, when I go up here, we have it on 4. If I hit apply and OK again, apply, OK, what you'll notice now is that the bottom 4 have been painted white. So that's the approach with using the cladding. Now another approach is this one, where we have a family. It's a component family. It's a face-based, line-based component family. What that means is if I select this family, go to right click, create similar, what you'll notice is that it's going to start recognizing faces in the model. So for example, if I want to place it here on the floor, I can. So I can just click, and then as I start extending, see, it creates a line, and that line forms the family. That's why I say face-based, because it's hosted on a face, and it's also line-based because we draw it as a line. So I can draw it here. Also, I can show you here, if I want to place it, I can place it like this vertically, but also I can place it horizontally. So that's the versatility that we get with these families. In this case, if I just hit the escape key a couple of times, for this wall, it can only be horizontal. For this family, well, we can have the cladding vertical or horizontal, which is a great benefit. Now, the main downside is that if I go and place a window here, just like that, what you'll notice is that the window does not poke through the cladding. So what we need to do is, well, we need to create an opening inside of this cladding for a window. Now we cannot use a void because voids in Revit are not going to cut these existing component families. So what we need is a temporary structure. So what are temporary structures? Well, it's a new category, and if I just go here to visibility graphics and find the category temporary structures, I need to turn it on first and then hit apply. Okay, you can see we have one here for this door, but let's hide that one for now, and let's create a new temporary structure to create an opening for this window. So we go here to component, then we go to model in place, then we search for temporary structures and click OK. Click OK again, and now let's create an extrusion. So it's not a void, it's a solid. So you go here to set work plane, go with pick a plane, pick the face of this window here, then go to extrusion, go to rectangle, and let's just make a rectangle extrusion like that. Hit finish, and we can extend it a bit. Also, make sure to go through the wall, just like that. Hit finish, and now we have that temporary structure. And now what we can do is we can just go to cut geometry, click on the cladding, click on the temporary structure, and it has now made the cut. Now we just select the temporary structure. It's temporary, so we can simply hide it. We no longer need it, and we have an opening for our window. Obviously, this takes a lot more time, and it's a lot less efficient as the approach that we have here, but it still works and it still gives us an opening for the window. Now let me just explain how does this family itself work. So if I select the family and go into edit type, here you will see we simply have an array. So it's an array that we can parametrically adjust. So we have this reference plane which we can move further away or closer in. And what it's doing is it's arraying this profile. So if I go here to 3D, yeah, in 3D, this is what that looks like. So we simply have this one profile family. So this isn't actually a profile, it's an extrusion. And if I double click, it's going to open up that group where we simply have this one family. And if I go to edit family, you can see it's simply a family that has this extrusion. It has the extrusion start, extrusion end. And if I go to parameters, you can see we only have the board length, which is kind of how long it is. We have the board width and the board thickness. So the width is 5.5 inches and the thickness is 3/4 of an inch. So all of those parameters have been built in. So if I just open this up to check it out, yeah, see here you can see the board width. Here we can see that thickness, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so now if I close this off, so basically you can see it's a simple family. Now when I hit finish, here you can see that that family has been arrayed. So if we go back here, you can see there's this array and we have a formula that's being used for this array. So let's go and open up the family types so we can see the parameters. So we have the actual width, so that's just the length of this thing. So this is something that we can change by lengthening it. Then we have the board length, so it's basically using this parameter from the length of the board. So we can just attach this board here, if you can see, at the bottom and at the top. So it's just pulling that number from here. Then we have the board width. That's just simply how wide the board is, and this is something that we have built in the board itself. And finally, we have the spacing, which is used for the array, and the spacing is the board width minus this value here, and that gives us our spacing in between each two of the boards. Finally, we have this useful area parameter, which just calculates the length by board length, and that gives us the area of the entire cladding. Now, one thing to keep in mind is once we're back in the project itself, if I select this, you can see here we have that area. However, it does not account for the window opening and the door opening, so that's just another point to this approach here. So there we go. Those are the two approaches. And of course, for this approach, it doesn't have to be cladding. You can do like slats, which we have here, and so on. So you can use it for multiple different approaches. So there we go. Those are my two favorite approaches. If you want to get the project files, so if you want to get this wall and this family, it's all available on my Patreon page, which I'm going to include up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. Also, if you want to learn how to create the structures of this wall step by step, and also if you want a step-by-step approach to creating parametric array families, all of that I teach on my website, balkanarchitect.com. So that's in the courses. As I said, the link is down in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.